Hey yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, the Order of the Phoenix is the fifth book in the Harry Potter series, so that means this is the fifth year for our friend Harry and his friends at Hogwarts. However, this year is completely different from all the others. Although, to be fair, all the other years are completely different from every other year. But what I'm trying to say is that Harry is going to Hogwarts this year knowing that Lord Voldemort is back. The Dark Lord is back. At the end of the fourth book, Lord Voldemort was brought back from the dead, although to be technical, he wasn't dead, he was just a disembodied spirit. But he was brought back, and now he wants to reclaim his glory. He wants to bring all his followers back, he wants to take out Harry Potter, and he wants to rule the world. Typical bad guy stuff. But Harry has to go to Hogwarts knowing this. It's not like in the fourth year where at the very end, Voldemort kind of popped out a cake and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm back!" And Harry had to deal with it over the summer. He has to deal with a whole year knowing that Voldemort is back and probably gunning for him. But see, that's not the only thing that changes this year up from the others. See, even though Lord Voldemort is back, the Ministry of Magic is saying he's not. They're completely playing things like they're stupid, like they're ignorant. They're saying that Harry Potter exaggerated what happened and he's lying, that Voldemort never came back. Which brings up the issue on how Cedric died. How do they explain that? Because Cedric was Avada Kedavra by Wormtail. So how do you explain his death? Well, he tripped. He tripped and he died. He fell on his wand and it went off. I mean, seriously, Ministry is stupid. But anyways, the Ministry is basically saying Lord Voldemort is not back, Harry's a liar, and Dumbledore is a radical. Dumbledore is rebellious, and he's gunning for the positions in the Ministry of Magic. See, we find that the head of the Ministry of Magic, Fudge, Cornelius Fudge, I think his full name is, doesn't like Dumbledore because Dumbledore is the most powerful wizard of his time, and he could have easily been the head of the Ministry of Magic, but he never took the position, and Fudge has held a grudge against him ever since. So much that he actually puts a new professor into Hogwarts, Professor Umbridge. I'll get into Professor Umbridge later. But anyways, Professor Umbridge becomes a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. But she also becomes the High Inquisitor of Hogwarts. That means she can overrule professors, she can make new rules at Hogwarts, and make everyone's life a living hell. Particularly Harry. She does some atrocious things to him. Probably the most notable and the most, just absolutely child abusive thing is making him write lines. But when he writes these lines, something bad happens to him. I'm not going to reveal what, but it's just an atrocious thing to do to a child. And Harry's life just seems to be falling apart because everyone thinks he's a liar. Professor Umbridge is making his life an absolute miserable hell. And the only things that are making Harry happy, the only things, are two things. One is the Order of Phoenix is introduced, and two, he creates Dumbledore's army. Allow me to explain these two. The Order of the Phoenix was a group that was created by Dumbledore back during the First Wizard War to fight Lord Voldemort. It consists of some of the big names. Harry's parents, Neville's parents, the Weasleys. It had Lupin in it. It had Sirius Black. It had Snape in it. It had Dumbledore. It had all the major good guy wizards. Obviously, some of them got killed off. Some of them went insane. Some of them whatever. But it's returned, and although not quite as strong and big, it is back so that they can take out Lord Voldemort. And then we have Dumbledore's army. Harry creates a secret society because of the lack of teaching in the Defense Against the Dark Arts, and he actually teaches his fellow students how to defend themselves against the Dark Arts. It's kind of interesting because the thing that Harry's probably best at is defenses against the dark arts. That and charms, I think. I think he's good with charms. I could be wrong, but he can do stuff that even Hermione can't do. There's a few things that Harry's better at than everyone else. He's actually just a normal kid when it comes down to the wizard community, but he's an excellent flyer, and he's excellent at defenses against dark arts. The Patronus spell That's something that he shouldn't be able to do yet, but he's able to do it. Various different disarming spells, hexes, charms, stuff that you don't learn until your 7th year, he can do. Because he's had to constantly deal with Voldemort, his followers, and just improvising and trying to be ahead of the game. So he creates this secret society. But the question is this. What happens when the Ministry keeps on sticking its nose into Hogwarts business? How will it affect the headmaster? How will it affect Harry? And how will it affect his friends? And at the end of the day, well, will everyone come out of this unscathed? You're just going to have to read and see. So let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Okay, let's start off with good. First good is that a lot of characters are either introduced here or are expanded here, and they're more secondary characters. And I like this. For example, Neville has great character development, and I don't want to reveal too much why, but the thing is Neville is motivated by what happened to his parents. If you read the 4th book, you know what happens to his parents and how he feels towards it. And he's motivated to improve himself, to make himself better because of this. And it just shows 1,000 years worth of growth in Neville, and it's actually really nice. New characters introduced: Luna Lovegood, I believe that's her last name, but although kind of a quirky character, she's a unique character and a character that you instantly are interested in and you kind of fall in love with. You think you find her fascinating, that she has such a disattachment from people, but she understands things so well. Several other characters get some development. The Weasley twins, although don't get developed too much, they used a lot more, which is nice. And then you have Ginny, who actually is used a lot more, and she gets a little bit more development. She kind of becomes a bit of a badass. Mrs. Weasley, we get to see a little bit more of her past. Dumbledore, although it doesn't show up too much during the bulk of the book, towards the end he really kind of shows more of his character. Kind of shows what I like about Dumbledore is that he's a calm, collective individual, always smiling, but you piss him off, dude. You do not want to mess with this guy. So you got some good there. This is big time set up for the other books, and in doing that, it succeeds. It sets up the tone, the standard, and what needs to be done for the next 2 books. It sets up a lot of plot points, like the Order of the Phoenix, like the Death Eaters, like Voldemort going for the secret weapon, which isn't really a weapon, but going for a secret thing in the Department of Ministry, and all that kind of sets up later on in different books. Although I haven't read the last 2 books, it's clearly set up, and you can tell it. So that's another good too. Bad. Well, the first bad is this. I guess I'll work my way up. First bad is, oh, poor Harry. Where's the Quidditch? Where's the Quidditch? This is more of a personal bad because I like Quidditch, but Harry doesn't get to play Quidditch this year, and I don't want to reveal why, but it sucks. Professor Umbridge, usually I like bad guy characters because they're good foils for good guy characters, and they're very interesting, but Umbridge is I do not like her at all. She is a horrible individual, and I'm glad what came to her, and I hope she has more coming to her because she's just an atrocious individual. I have more sympathy for Lord Voldemort than I do have for her. I really do. Because, see, the thing is Voldemort knows he's bad. She thinks she's doing the right thing. So I do not like Umbridge at all. She serves her purpose because I don't think you're supposed to like her, but, oh, she just ticked me off. Probably the biggest problem with this book is this. I knew, after finishing the 4th book, that Harry Potter was going to get a lot more serious and a lot more darker because Voldemort was back and you kind of have to deal with the Lord of Darkness from this universe. The problem I have with this is not that the book is dark, but the book is depressing. And there's a difference between dark and depressing. Dark is something that's, always around you that kind of gives you an eerie sense. It's atmosphere. Depressing is how you feel. For example, I can read a Batman comic and have it be a dark comic and have it dark tones and a dark feeling to it, but I won't be depressed during the comic. I won't feel depressed. I won't get a depressed feeling from it. I can watch a movie, and the movie can have a very dark tone to it, but I could not be depressed by it at all. It could just be the dark tone. I'll play a Resident Evil game. That is well, the earlier games at least had a very dark atmosphere to it, but never was I depressed. When I read Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, it's a depressing book because nothing went right in it, especially towards the end. And I think that's a huge fault to it because you can have a book be dark, but you can still have it be fun. And Harry Potter, The Order of the Phoenix, it was just too depressing. I think one of the charms and the beautiful things about Harry Potter is it's such a colorful world. It has a lot of fun to it, and I feel as though we didn't have that fun there because she was the J.K. Rowling's too busy trying to set up how dark and depressing this world is now because Voldemort's back, and it's really not even Voldemort that does it; it's more Umbridge. Oh God, I consider the Ministry of Magic more bad guys in this than anyone else. But that's probably the biggest bad I had with this. Whether or not you should read it, and where does it stand with the other Harry Potter books? Well, the thing is Order of the Phoenix, after what we read from the Goblet of Fire, had to be a setup book, and there is no avoiding that. It had to set up many different things for the last two books, because in the Goblet of Fire, we had that switch from Harry Potter just going to school and dealing with miscellaneous adventures to Voldemort is back. So this had to be a setup book. In doing that, it does a good job. And it's not a bad book, but it's not overwhelmingly good either. When it comes down to the Harry Potter books I've read so far, the first 5, this is probably my least favorite and probably the more forgettable one. There's nothing too much that stands out in this except for what happens to one of my favorite characters, but nothing really too much stands out about this. It's really just setup. Like I said, it's not a bad book, but the bad that's in it is greatly noticeable. Maybe it's just me saying that I felt very depressed reading it because nothing went well. Maybe it's because I can also identify with Harry in the sense that he's in school and how he has to deal with all the pressures of the world at the same time. He's trying to be happy, but he can't. Because that's what can happen. If you go, and I'll take college for example, because the difference between high school and college is so great, it's not even funny. If I could go back to high school and sleep half the time, I didn't realize how easy it was. And I did sleep half the time. But in college can kick your ass. It is kicking my ass right now. I've had a lot of up and downs with college. More ups than downs, but I've had a lot of times that I've been challenged, I hate to say this, but a lot of the moments in my life where I've been kind of upset or depressed have stemmed from college, having to be able to do this or be able to set a standard and reach that standard or do anything, is make good grades, pass the class, understand what you're learning, because it's not just passing the class, you have to understand what you're learning, and it really can put a damper on the rest of your life, and I can identify with Harry in that. And that Harry he has to deal with the Owls, which is a big test this year. He has to deal with all his classes, and then in addition to that, he has to deal with everything else in his life, and it can be pretty hardcore. And I can relate to it in that, but I still kind of wish I had that kind of fun factor in there, which I didn't quite get. Like I said, it's an okay book, but I don't think anyone's going to read this more than once, unless you're one of those hardcore Harry Potter fans. I mean, I'm going to buy each book after I finish the ones that I get from the co-workers or friends. But when it comes down to it, I'm probably not going to read Goblet of Fire again. I'm going to watch a movie, and then I'll just put it behind me. Yeah. So, on the whole, in the end, probably the weakest link in the Harry Potter series so far. By no means bad, but it's forgettable in the end. But then again, that's probably just me. Maybe. A lot of my friends say that too. But, yes, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. It was okay, but okay is just not enough. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.